Hello, hello, hello. Gonna get some of these people invited here. Hope everybody's doing good tonight.
Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm all right. How about you?
I'm like, whew, it's been a busy day.
I'm
A very
sure.
busy
I'm
day.
sure. Yeah. And how's everybody
Hey
else?
guys, I'm
Sally,
driving.
Tim.
I'm gonna go on mute for right now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Gotta look at the car.
How are you, Sally?
Don't stare at me.
I'm stressed out beyond being stressed out at the moment.
Well, let's hope that
Oh, you
changes.
put it.
I'm
I know.
sorry.
I know what you're going through
That's
there.
yours. So put it down.
I just
Or
found
no,
out
use
I
that.
have a
Use
meeting
that.
tomorrow at 3:30, and I just
Ready?
found out some other information he sent me, and I'm gonna have to start completely over on this design.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get a lot of sleep tonight. It's all right.
Aw.
Oh, you.
Bless your
That's
heart.
Sorry to hear that, Sally.
It's all
Okay, that's
right.
yours. Use that. Okay, ready?
Hello, everyone coming in.
Yeah, hello, guys. Excited to have everybody here tonight. I'm gonna do my best on this stuff. This was a lot to cover for me.
Yeah, was it a lot today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was so many things I wanted to look at. I kept looking at this and looking at that, and I was like,
Oh,
ooh,
it was too Jackson didn't even see that.
I'm just too detailed. I
I
get
was
too
blind. I was looking
too
at
much
the
into
butterfly
detail.
on my.
Yeah. Caitlin, your background noise was really loud.
Yeah.
So, Grandpa.
Jess and Paul, sorry,
ready?
Bella and Paul are playing cards, so I'll mute.
Okay.
This is yours now.
That's better. Hey, Shannon. Hey, Dorothy. Oh,
Yeah, I'm trying to see what's coming in. Mark. Hey, Mark. And Shannon and Dorothy.
hey, Mark.
Hey, Marie.
Hi everyone.
Hey,
Hey, Marie.
psychotherapist. We might need a psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Kind of day we've had. There's some more interesting stuff on this, though. I think people are going to like it tonight.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I always find interesting things.
Well, yes, you do.
What is the thumping sound?
Oh, it's probably me tapping my screen because I was
Oh,
trying
okay,
to
good. It wasn't
start.
me. Okay. I was just making sure it wasn't something on my end.
If everybody coming in would tap your screen and get us some hearts, that'll help the algorithm and get more viewers coming in.
Yeah, I see my paperwork all over my desk. That's funny. I just realized that. That's okay. It don't matter.
You should see my dining room table. It's
Or is
okay.
it covered?
It is.
All right. Yeah, it was just because my screen looks different. It's weird. I can scoot that over, cover some of that up. I have like one of those clear things, and like I've got cheat sheets on the Greek. I've got appointment cards. I've got everything on there. It becomes a mess, and every now and then I'll go through and clean it out. But I like that thing. It's like a desk protector, and then you can slide stuff under it and you can still read it.
Yeah.
I even got my phone numbers on one side, and it's pretty cool. Hope everybody's doing okay. I just feel rushed. I'm just taking a minute to go, whew, and then we'll start. and let it give it a minute for everybody to get in here too.
We will accept guests up once artist is done with the presentation.
I'm going to talk just a few minutes, and then we'll have people up. Let me make sure this screen looks right now. See if we can see it. Yeah, I might could blow it up a hair more.
Hello, everybody. By the way, I'm still out getting food. Just didn't want to ignore everyone that just came in.
You're good, Tim. Thank you.
All right, now let's see. That's better. Okay. We left off with 8, so we're going to start with Revelation 1:9. And I think everybody pretty much knows what we have in the. I ought to just read what they got in the regular Bible first, because I don't think I put it on there. I didn't. And that way, because I look at the, if you've never seen one of my presentations and you're new, I look at what the Greek looks at. It says in modern and ancient Greek. And I go through a big process to do this. But on verse 9, and this is the NSAB, I think, I, John, your brother and fellow partaker in the tribulation and kingdom and the perseverance which are in Jesus, was on the island called Patmos because of the word of God and the testimony of Jesus, is what we have in our English version. Now, when I analyzed it, and this was a strange thing, when I looked at the etymology of Patmos, it didn't say that it was an island back then. It said it meant my killing. And I was like, and then when I looked at Thayer, they say for a definition of Patmos was my killing. And I thought, that's weird, because I had never heard that before. And I couldn't find any historical evidence of Patmos being an island back in the first century. So that also made me think, well, maybe this is supposed to be read differently. But this is what I got. I, Ionis, or John, and it can mean Yah is the gracious giver or God is the gracious giver, the participant with you in the tribulation, and by the reign and reframing from the enforcement of Jesus Christ coming into being, by the flowing calling or summoning of my killing, for the word of the divine and for the judicial evidence of Jesus Christ. That is a mouthful. But basically what he's saying is that he was a participant in the tribulation in that time, in the enforcement of the Jesus Christ stuff coming into being. And he was called or summoned for killing for his word of the divine and for the evidence of Jesus Christ. So either he was killed or he was, unalived. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that word 3 times. Unalived or not unalived, or they were wanting to, one of the two, by the way that it's expressed. But I thought that was really strange that I found that when I was looking at it. So I went on and even went deeper and looked at Abram Publishing. And they said that it was unclear what Patmos meant, that it could mean trampled, subdued, crumbled, or a place of roads, even a serpentine or a proctorate. It's from the verb pato, which means to tread or walk, and the noun patmos, which is a path, or to break down or crumble something. And according to Trillium, John was banished after being plunged into boiling oil in Rome and suffering no ill effects. It didn't hurt him at all. So they banished him. And they did that a lot in the first century. They did send people off to islands and stuff like that and put them in isolation alone. So that could have been, it could also possibly mean that he did go to a place called Patmos. Just because I couldn't find it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Okay, in verse 10, this is interesting because John is saying that he was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and he heard behind him a loud voice like a trumpet. And when I checked that, I couldn't really find anything modernish to that except that the voice is also the word for phone in Greek. When you say voice, it's actually phone, just like we pronounce phone. Phone is how it's pronounced. And the spring, it was like a trumpet, and they have a remake of that today, but I don't think it has anything to do with this verse. Now, the Lord's Day particularly keyed me into a lot of things. Okay, when you look at the Lord's Day, it's a biblical term and theme used for both Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament for the day of the Lord to come, like a day of tribulation and stuff like that. It refers to temporal events such as an invasion of a foreign army, the capture of a city, and it's all through the prophets. The prophet Malachi foretells the return of Elijah immediately preceding the great and terrible day of the Lord. Okay, and it's always called something negative. It's like it's a day of darkness or various different things that are negative in connotation. Now we know that Jesus told us in Matthew 11:14, and if you are willing to receive it, he is Elijah who was about to come, and he's talking about John the Baptist. So he would be indicating when he said that the day of the Lord was there. Okay. And this is kind of how the day of the Lord is described in Zechariah 14. Behold, a day is coming from the Lord with the spoil taken from you will be divided among you. For I will gather the nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city will be captured, the houses plundered, the women ravished, and half the city exiled. But the rest of the people will not be cut off from the city. Then the Lord will go forth and fight against those nations when he fights on a day of battle. In that day his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which is in front of Jerusalem, on the east, and the Mount of Olives will be split in the middle from the east to the west by a very large valley, so that half of the mountain will be moved toward the north and the other half toward the south. You will flee by the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains will reach to Azel. Yes, you will flee just as you flee before the earthquake of the days of Uzziah, the king of Judah. Then the Lord my God will come, and the holy ones with him. In that day will there be no light, luminaries will dwindle, for it will be a unique day, which is known to the Lord neither day nor night, and it will come about at the evening time there will be light. And in that day the living waters will flow out of Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea, and the other to the western sea, and it will be a summer as well as in winter. And God will be king over all, and the Lord will be king over all the earth. In that day the Lord will be the only one, and his name the only one, or one. Some versions say one. Only is italicized, so it's probably not even there. But that's real interesting because his name will even be one. Then we have Zephaniah 1:14 through 18. Near is the great day of the Lord, near and coming very quickly. Listen, the day of the Lord. In it is a warrior cries out bitterly. A day of wrath is that day, a day of trouble and distress, a day of destruction and desolation, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and darkness, a day of trumpet and battle cry against the fortified cities and the high cornet towers. I will bring distress on men so that they will walk like the blind, because they have sinned against the Lord, and the blood will be poured out like the dust, and their flesh will like dung. Neither their silver nor their gold will be able to deliver them on the day of the Lord's wrath, and all the earth will be devoured in the fire of his jealousy, for he will make the complete end, indeed, terrifying ones of the inhabitants of the earth. So this is a horrible thing we're looking at. I know a lot of people think they want the day of the Lord to hurry up and come, and I'm like, why? It's pretty bad. Then he says to him in Revelation 1:11, saying, "What you see, write in the book, and send to the seven assemblies: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea." Okay, I looked up those names. I didn't see anything particularly. It's like Ephesus means permitted, Smyrna means mirth, Pergamos means high or elevated, Thyatira means odor or affliction, Sardis means red ones, Philadelphia, brotherly love, and Laodicea, a justice of the people. So I didn't see anything in particular that struck me out with the names. And that's basically just mainly a listing of the names and calling them out as being assemblies. And we know, according to the current maps we have, those seven would be over there in what would be Western Turkey, over toward the Greece. And they make like a circle. And you notice in the Vatican, they have the stars, are the assemblies, and they have the stars around St. Peter's altar. That's why I put that up there, because it's real interesting. They kind of make a circle, and then they kind of like imitated that within St. Peter's Cathedral. Okay. And the next verse goes into that. And I turned to see a voice which spoke with me. And having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And I don't know if you can tell it right here, but I'll put my hand up there. Right in there on the altar is 7 lampstands at the Vatican. And they're golden. And in the midst of the 7 lampstands was one like a son of man. Okay, notice that word is real important, like. It means similar to, or kind of like, it wouldn't be the person themselves. It was to be somebody else that is like them. And he's dressed in a robe down to his feet and girded about his chest with a golden band. And you've got the 7 stars, you've got the 7 lampstands, and then the one that stands in front of the altar, which would be the Pope. And when I went through and looked at the modern on that verse, I did get something weird. It said, "I returned and came back at some point and watched the phone. Anyone who spoke with me and turned back 7 types or species, the lampstands adorned with gold." And I didn't know what that meant. I was like, this is confusing because it doesn't really make sense. But I went and Googled the Greek word for the lampstands that are adorned with gold, and I'll show you what I come back with. It's really weird, because I don't even know what they're for. And I tried to find out. Uh-oh. Did I skip a? Oh, there they are. That's them. Have no clue. It's like some kind of tubular thing for um, computer boards. But I do not know what that's for. But when I took the word for the lampstands, that's what comes back on the images. That and menorahs, that's the only two things that come back. And there was tons of them. Not like some of them were round and some of them were square. So that might be something we want to look into. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. All right. And then 13, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man was clothed in a garment down to his foot, and girded about the paps with a golden girdle. Now that girded around the paps is the that would be the breastpiece. And his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Okay. All right, and this I got pretty similar to what they got. It's like, and his feet were like unto fine brass, as if they had been burned in a furnace, and his voice was as the sound of many waters. And I looked up that many waters, and it said it could be like the voice of a lot of people, you know. All right. And then 19, he said, told him, he said, write what you saw and who they are and what they intend to cause to become after these. And when I looked at our version in English, it says, write the things which thou hast seen, and the things which thou art, and the things which shall be hereafter. But then when I do it in modern, it's like, write what you saw and who they are, and that they intend to cause or become after these. So it's like there's something going to happen after these that he's saying write it down. Right. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to note here, these talk about messengers and angels. A angel back then could also be a human messenger. It did not have to be a supernatural being, but I have a feeling that it was. I don't know why, but I just do. And what else do I want to tell y'all for this one? That's pretty much the same. I just pulled all my cards from this. Okay, so when we look here, it's like, he said he was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, heard behind him a loud voice like a trumpet, and he's told to write in a book and send it to the 7 assemblies, to Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. And I turned to see the voice that was speaking. Having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and among the lampstands was one like a son of man, clothed in a robe, reaching down to his feet, and a golden sash was around his chest. And his hairs were as white as snow, and they were like wool, and his eyes were like flames of fire. Pretty interesting, because it pretty much describes what we see at the Vatican. Now, there's a lot of different things to look at on this too, though. All right. Like, it says his feet were like brass. Okay, and verse 16 goes on to say, he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth was a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was like the sun shineth in his strength. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, or unalived. Behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. Or it says in the end, that could be in the end, and I have the keys of hell and death. Write the things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter, the mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in thy right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels, or messengers of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches. So he's defining what the things are. And okay, now I want to kind of go into who is this? Who are we talking about? And I think you have to go backwards into the Old Testament to see it. Like we're told in Psalms 10:3, for the wicked boast of the desires of his soul, and the one greedy for gain renounces Yahweh. Okay, so if Jesus Christ was Yahweh, then this would be Peter, the one that denounced him. Okay, now how do I get that? If you look in Isaiah, you can see a whole lot of what goes on in the New Testament. It says, the people didn't turn to him that struck them, nor inquire of Yahweh of hosts. So Yahweh cut off Israel head and tail, palm branch and reed in one day. The elder and honored man, he is the head, and the prophet who teaches the lies is the tail. For those who guide these people have been leading them astray, and those that are guided by them are swallowed up. Therefore Yahweh does not rejoice over the young men, nor have compassion on their fatherless and their widows, for every one is godless and an evildoer, and every mouth speaks folly. For all his anger has not turned away, and his hand is stretched out still. So he's kind of telling us it's like the elder and the honored man, which would be Peter, is the head honcho, and the one that teaches the lies is the tail, the prophet. And I think that was Peter and Paul. Okay. Because when we read Isaiah 22:15, and thus says Master Yahweh of hosts, go, come to the steward and Shabbat, who is over the house, and say, what have you here? And whom have you here? That you have hewed a burial site here, and hews himself a burial site on high, inscribing a resting place for himself in the rock. And I believe that's the tomb we see under the altar. Okay? When we look at Daniel, we see some stuff too. It's like Daniel 2:45. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, and he let King Nebuchadnezzar know what will happen in the last days. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet, and the iron and the clay, and smashed them. Then the iron, the day of the bronze, and the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces, and became like chaff on the threshing floor in the summer, and the wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock, and out of the mountain, but not by human hands, a rock that broke the iron, the bronze, and the day of the silver and the gold and the pieces. And I believe that rock was the one that Jesus named Peter. Jeremiah 51:25 also says some stuff about it. Behold, I am against you, O destroying mountain, declares Yahweh, which destroys the whole earth. I will stretch out my hand against you and roll you down from the crags and make you a burnt mountain. And it's like, I think Peter the Rock is the one that hit the statue. I think he took over. And there's some more proof. We're going to keep going. Okay. When we look further in Isaiah 22, see, Yahweh is hurling you away, O man, and is firmly grasping you, rolling you up tightly like a ball into a wide land. There you are to unalive, and there your esteemed chariots are to be shamed of your mother's house. And I shall drive you from your office, and you shall be ousted from your position. And see, Jesus talked about this in John 21:18 and 19. In the end, I say to you, when you were younger, you girded yourself, and you walked where you wished. But when you are old, you shall stretch out your hands, and another shall gird you, and bring you where you do not wish to be. Now he said this, signifying by what unalivement he would be esteemed, or esteem God, or Elohim. And having said this, he said, follow me. And I believe that was the JC one telling him that you're going to do this, and you're going to stretch out just like me, and, you're going to gird your sash, and you're going to do this, You did this, you're going to follow somebody else, and I think he followed Paul. Okay. Let's see. And it says, and it shall be in that day that I shall call my servant Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and I shall put your robe on him, and strengthen him with your girdle, and give your authority into his hand. And he shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to the house of Judea. And I shall place the key of the house of David on his shoulders, and shall open, and no one shuts, and shall shut, and no one will open. And I shall fasten him like a peg in a steadfast place. And he shall become their throne of esteem to the Father's house. And they shall hang on him the weight of the Father's house, the offspring, the offshoots, all the vessels of the small quality, and the cups and jars. And now we see that Paul in 1 Corinthians 4:15 says, for though you are countless guides in Christ, you do not have many fathers, for I became your father in Christ, Jesus, through the gospel. And we see the same thing in Philemon 1:10. I appeal to you for my child, Onesimus, whose father I became in my imprisonment. And I think that it was Paul that dressed Peter up. Let's see. Now, this is the image we get when we think about what he's describing. That's one image. There are tons. Okay. That's one. That's like the AI image that the AI creates when you throw it in there. Okay. Now, we have the black people say that that Yahweh was black, and we know from historical stuff that Peter was probably black. And most people don't realize that. But when you look at the ancient art and you look at the statue of Peter in St. Peter's, it's a black statue, but the hair is consistent with an Afro-ish type hairstyle that's woolly. Okay? And in many of the pictures, he has white hair, even. So I believe that this person that's being set up that's like the Son of Man had to be similar to Peter, because I think Peter took the position of being like the Son of Man. Because I think JC was actually James the Just. and I think Peter took over, if that makes sense. Okay. And now I'm going to show you how I figured this out to actually be accurate. Now I'm an artist, and that's why I look at the art, because art doesn't lie. It's like when you look at ancient artwork and you look at old stuff, artwork never tells a lie because it doesn't know how to, unless somebody has pointedly got a weapon on an artist saying, "We'll do it this way." You know, most of the time it's going to tell you something about that time period. And when we look at Acts 13, we can actually see that Simon was called a Niger, which is the Greek word for black. It says, "Now there were at the church of Antioch prophets, teachers, Barnabas, Simon, who was called a Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manson, a lifelong friend of Herod the Tetrarch, and of Saul." So even the Greek text says we have a Simon that's also called a Niger. And they got a bad terminology on that in the South. They use slang off of that, but that's not what that was meant to say. It was just a word for black. Okay, you can even tell it there. That's the two statues out in front of St. Peter's. See Peter on the left, looks like he has an afro, and then Paul on the right, he has the more flowy, white, less curly, less bouncy back looking hair. Okay. And I blew this one up too so you can see that in many of the pictures, the old ones like this in the middle, that is an old picture. And he has like cornrows. And then he has, and I hope that's an appropriate term if you're black, please don't be offended. Because I don't know what terms are kosher anymore and which ones aren't. I do my best. I'm not prejudiced. But you can tell by that one that it's also looks like an Afro-American hairstyle. All right, here's another one. And that's a real old one. That's probably one of the oldest. And you see the same stain. And you see the fingers sticking up just like they do on his statue also in that one. Okay. Alright, and we read that one part. Yeah, 15, 16. Did I skip 16? I hope not. Okay. Yeah, the next verse I'm going to cover in another place, I think, too. But it's like what I got when I looked at the Greek, and it said, "And I saw him, I fell prostrate under their podium." He's talking about a podium, like a corpse, and set in a certain arrangement of the right hand and the same hand above to me, saying, "I'm not to fear, I'm beloved the first and the last, the final time." I thought that was a weird statement when I looked at that. But it is up on a podium, and the right hand is positioned in an upward position. Okay. All right. Okay, and it says in verse 16, "In his right hand he had held the 7 stars, and out of his mouth came a sharp 2-edged sword, and his face was like the sun shining in strength." Then we have 2 instances of Peter actually having a physical sword, but that's not like a sword coming out of the mouth. To me, a sword coming out of the mouth would be more like the words coming out of them. And the only other place I saw about the light like the sun shining was in Acts 26, 12 and 14, and it says, "While so engaged, I was journeying to Damascus with the authority and commission of the chief priest. At midday, O king, I saw on the way a light from heaven, brighter than the sun, shining all around me and those who were journeying with me. And when we had fallen to the ground, I heard a voice saying to me in the Hebrew dialect, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? It is hard for you to kick against the goads. And I have a feeling that that was actually, that might have been JC that presented himself to him and looked like that. But this is like the Son of Man, so it's I don't think it's him that John is seeing. Okay. And that's where I found the word for podium and all. And it said, when I looked up the etymology back in first century, the word for that they have for the feet was a actual podium. I'm like, this is wild. And I saw him, I fell prostrate near the podium like a corpse. And he set a certain arrangement with the right hand, and the same hand above me, saying, don't fear. I'm beloved the first, the last, and the final time. Now, what we have in English is, and when I saw him, I fell at his feet as if dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, fear not, I am first, the last, and the last. But when you actually look at this word here, epithelium, let's see, it's the yellow one right there. Right there. It means to set a certain arrangement with that hand. It's like it is positioned in that manner. And when it says to fall down like dead, it was more like to fall down like prostrate, where you are venerating somebody. I guess it's a good word. Okay. And then 18, we've got, and I am he that liveth and was dead and are unalived, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And I have the keys of hell and of death. Okay, hell is Hades in this sentence. And Hades was actually in first century Serapis, which I didn't know until I looked it up. I didn't know they were considered one and the same. But that's actually the god of the underworld. Let's see. And that's the one I'm writing. Okay. And then he tells us at the end of Revelation 1:20, the mystery of the seven stars, which thou sawest in thy right hand, and the seven golden candlesticks. The seven stars are the angels of the seven churches, and the seven candlesticks which thou sawest are the seven churches. And I don't know how they come up. There was the seven churches were all Paul's churches, so I don't know how he come up with seven angels, unless it was seven of the apostles. But that's something I'm still looking into. But that's pretty much as far as I've gotten today, which was a lot, because I was looking at a lot of Greek stuff. Y'all want to open it up and talk some now? I'd like to hear what y'all think too. Thank you guys. I hope so. This isn't a big undertaking. I think it'll make more sense as we go along though.
Trevor, you're back. Good to see you, bro. He said, oh, well, he asked Tracy, but I guess I'll just say it aloud. You think the sword in Revelation could be his tongue or words?
I think it's the words that they wrote. You know, I think it's like Peter and Paul writing, because they put a lot of stuff in there, both of them, and most of the church follows them. They don't follow what Jesus said, for the most part, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor. Trevor, you want to try to come up again today? Let's see. Today may be the day. Look at that. I'm inviting you. You're here. You're visible.
I'm gonna step away for a second, turn the air on. I'm hot. I'll be right back.
I just shot you an invite, Trevor. Does anybody else want to come up? Look at that. We got Trevor.
Hey, Trevor.
Hey, did it actually work?
Yeah, we can hear you too.
Awesome. All right, thank you. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Uh, yeah, no,
Hi,
I don't even
Trevor.
remember what I was going to say last time. Hey, artist, thank you again for all of this. It's awesome. And
Oh,
I've
you're
watched
welcome.
all your videos on YouTube, and yeah, they're amazing. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm just happy people are getting something out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a lot. Like, oh yeah, I remember one of the things I wanted to ask the other day. As far as like the two Jesuses go, like, do you think they were both, like you were saying, James the Just, do you think is JC, and that Peter might have been as well?
I think that now this is a theory, and I have not been able to prove it. I know that James the Just was unalived in front of the temple,
Yeah.
and I think that's when Peter and Paul took over. I think they had something to do with that. Now I could be wrong, and I'm still researching on that. If I find any concrete proof, I'm gonna show it because I've been looking at that for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, so do you think James the Just was like sincere, kind of like maybe he was, like I like I don't know how to like word that, but like, do you
He
think he
was,
was like trying to do the right thing?
oh, he
Maybe.
was a sincere Jewish priest. He was a high priest.
Okay, as far as like
There's
a Pharisee in
Yeah,
that
there's a
sense.
lot
Yeah.
of documentation of him being in the Holy of Holies, and he was on his knees so much that his knees looked like they said they were calloused and looked like camel knees. He was praying all the time. They said he was super righteous. Um, he was always trying, according to the other writings outside, the Jewish writings, James was really honored by everybody. He was well thought of, you know. And there's a big, thick book Eisman wrote called James the Just, and it's like about 800 pages, and it is documented throughout. It's incredible how much writing there is on James. There is a lot.
Yeah, because I'm looking at his picture right now, or like the first few that pop up, and he's got, I don't know. I mean, usually, with art, like you said, they do it for a reason. And I mean, he's like the way the crosses are positioned is like the seal of Saturn.
Yeah.
It's two X's like side by side. And yeah, I don't know. I just, the halo and yeah. Um, and then I wanted to ask, sorry, I wrote down a few things. And they called him the Christ too, right?
Yeah, Josephus did in one of his
Yeah.
writings. I was surprised at that too.
Yeah, because
And they
when I
said
was
he was
looking.
he was holy from the womb. He drank no wine. There's all kinds of stuff about him. It's like they really did set him up to be the actual Christ or Messiah person.
Yeah. So, have you read much about like Metatron and stuff like that?
Not a whole lot. I read a little bit way back. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I was just curious about that because, like, I think he's considered like the Jewish savior, or they're supposed to be their Messiah, right? I think.
There's a lot of
Uh,
a lot of thought with the rabbis right now. I'm listening to them talk that they will realize that JC was the actual really one, and they're gonna all of a sudden convert or something.
but you
That's
think they're? I mean, they're when they say that they mean they're Jesus though. Like,
Some of them are talking that they think that they might actually have been the one that was there. That he'll be the one show up, and then they're going to realize. I don't know. You know, that's a couple of them that I listen to, and then another one says there were two Jesuses, like we have the thing that there's two,
Yeah.
and that theirs was the right one, and the other one was the wrong one. So who knows?
Yeah, because I mean, some of the rabbis I found, they say some pretty out there stuff like about being from a different place and
Oh yeah, I've heard that one
yeah,
too. That they're star children and all this stuff. It's
yeah. I think more Saturn with that too, and then I don't know. Some of it sounds like some of the Mormon stuff also, and like or it sounded similar to what the Mormons part of what they believe, and
yeah, it sure does. It really
yeah, because
does.
they think Saturn's heaven or where they go to heaven now, or I guess I'm not. Yeah, it's where they believe heaven is, and uh, yeah, I'm blanking on the rest, but yeah, a lot of it sounds similar to what I've heard rabbis say, and
There's an extra biblical text too that has Jesus saying um, that if you have any problem, I think it's the Book of Thomas. Go to James the Just. I think it's the Book of Thomas. It's one of those that's pretty well thought of. You know.
Really confusing. If that's
yeah, yeah, man, it's a trip, dude. Like, there's just so much and just
The Book
so
of
much
James, though, you know what James says now. The
as
Book of
far as
James, he said, "We put the bit in the mouth of the horses and steer them where they're going to go."
yeah, yeah, that
That caught my attention big time. I was like, "Cause the horses of the apocalypse, you know."
yeah.
hey
Oh, I didn't even
artists.
think about it like that. I
My
think,
phone my phone did that. Oh, my bad, Trevor.
oh no, you're good. No,
My
no,
phone
no,
did
no,
that
no.
thing where it blanks out for like 5 seconds, and I missed your whole explanation.
Oh no, what part? On what? On James?
Yeah, you were
I was talking about
about
the
to.
Book of Thomas. That I think there's a passage in the Book of Thomas that says, if you have any, if you need anything, turn to James the Just. It's like he's directing. They have Jesus in that book directing them toward James the Just. You know,
Oh, okay, got you.
yeah.
Hey Nick, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Hi, Nick.
Sorry, hello. How are
The
you?
Nick.
Doing pretty good.
I'm glad to hear that. There's one person in the comments who said something, and the whole conversation kind of led me to fixate on this one comment. Tracy D said, Hebrews 4:12, the word of God is like a two-edged sword. There's so many parallels to be made from that one quote. And I just want to say this because I actually want to go to sleep. I've been sick for the past week.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
Um,
that.
it is what it is. um, uh, Let me just get my head straight here. So like the word of God being a two-edged sword can mean many different things. One, as we know, a two-edged sword, if deflected back at the wielder, can be dangerous to the wielder as well. So if you're using the word of God as a weapon, it could be detrimental to you, not only in the sense of your own knowledge of what's actually being said, or you're hurting the person who's you're telling the information to, the whole being a false teacher, or like teaching
Right.
what's not the truth. But it also can be that Yahweh is the leading edge, which is causing the destruction, and our Father in heaven is the trailing edge, or the back edge, who could cause destruction or damage, but doesn't. But he's allowing Yahweh to go through with, and we've had this conversation before. It's like, so Yahweh's got his people, and then Jesus Barabbas has his people, or his side of it. But I truly believe that the Father in heaven is allowing Yahweh's plan to go through, because he knows in the end, as it states, he knows the end from the beginning. He's allowing it to happen because he knows in the end he wins. There's no way for Yahweh to win.
Yeah, and you got to think too. You can go all the way back to Genesis too.
Exactly.
Yahweh places a two-edged flaming sword in front of the tree of life. He basically condemns Adam and Eve by not letting them reach out and take a piece of the fruit, and live forever. He didn't want them to live forever.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it kind of sounds like
That's all I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you added that because that was good. I don't think we'll have all the answers, no matter how hard we try.
Oh God, no.
Every
Yeah,
time I find
that's
something else, I just
not
get more
realistic.
questions. It just
What's
pours
that,
on more
what is that
questions.
thing we always say? God only knows.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the more I learn, the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Well, again, that statement that you just said, you can learn as much as you want. Information is information, but there's a difference between information and knowledge.
True.
Very true.
even furthermore, no matter how much knowledge you have, it depends on how well you use the knowledge.
Yeah,
Correct, and that
absolutely.
comes back to what I was saying about the two-edged sword. Yes, the word of God is like a two-edged sword, but you got to remember that it's. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. It's not to be used as a weapon. Our Father in heaven has no evil in him, and he does not cause death or destruction.
I
He
agree
has
with
left
that.
to the God of this world, who is Yahweh, to go through and do all of this stuff.
And I keep trying to decide if John is warning of actually warning of Yahweh in this book, or is he playing into their playbook? It's like
He could be doing both. He could be having to play both sides because he's trying to watch his back, but at the same time put his message in a cryptic form that they won't see that he's actually trying to be the good guy.
oh,
You never know.
that could be too.
So it's a never-ending puzzle.
I missed that last part that you just said, Nick. Who are you referring to?
I was saying that John's message to, all of God's children, could be in a cryptic way because he has to watch his own back and watch what he says and the way he says things, so that he's not killed by the other people who follow
Leaders.
Yahweh.
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
So that way he can still get his message out, but he has to do it maybe in a cryptic way so that he's not discovered as a true believer of
Yeah,
the
it's kind
Father.
of like how we got to move today. We got to
Exactly.
at the workplace or here and there, and just find whoever is who seems ready, and maybe
Yeah.
pour some water on them.
As we get closer, and I'll show the rest of it too. It's like,
It's planting seeds, right?
Paul said, "Let us be conformed to the image of Jesus Christ," and it's like, the image is the same word that Jesus used when he showed him the corn. He said, "Whose image is on there?" So he's trying to get people into this icon worship, type mentality. Then Paul also said, "I bear the marks of Christ, that nobody bother me." But that word in Greek for bother means in buying and selling. And I'm going to show how they set that up too, where you couldn't buy or sell unless you were confirmed into the Catholic Church.
So interesting.
Yeah, so this probably happened in 70 AD, but it's for whatever reason it's trying to recreate again when you put it in the modern Greek. When I go to the stuff about the mark and all, it's really strange.
Do you think this is repeated multiple times, artist?
Well, it also shows what it's a repeat of what Yahweh did in the Old Testament also.
As far as like the flood or just other cataclysms, like
A lot of it, he had the you know, where you have it'll be our sign on your forehead and in your hand.
yeah,
The whole thing. He had his own mark, and was basically keeping the Sabbath and all that.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I see what you mean
I
there.
just want to respond to one thing that Tracy D said. She said, "Word of God isn't the Bible," and I agree. But at the same time, the Father can use anything Yahweh puts in place for His plan for good. So even though there's so much deception in the Bible, you can still find the words of Jesus Barabbas in the Bible. It's just mixed in. You have to understand his character to understand who is actually talking.
Yeah.
So there is truth, but you have to seek the knowledge to understand. Knowledge, not information, knowledge. And yes, knowledge causes sorrow, because the more you know, the sadder the story is, and the more you realize that we have no control over this story. It's already been predetermined from the beginning.
I always tell the guy that talks to me at my job, Dan. Sorry. I always tell him what is so unbelievable about getting the correct information from the liar or the person we're interrogating. You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of how I see the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It looks
Well,
like
anyways,
Yahweh.
guys, thanks for having me. I'm gonna go to bed now, but
Okay, Nick. Thank you so much for coming up, and you had some great comments. I really appreciate it.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great night, guys.
Have a good night.
You too. I hope you feel better.
I will.
Night, Nick.
Night.
Nick was a smart guy. We appreciate you, Nick. I had a question. If no one else have one right now, Trevor, I don't know if
Yeah,
you got one.
no. Please go ahead.
If we reincarnate and there are resets, right? And if Revelation is the explanation of that, of the resets and the reincarnation and everything, then are we saying that Satan is jailed for 1,000 years multiple times over and over? And then how often are these resets then if he's staying in jail for 1,000 years?
Yeah, I've wondered that myself. As far as, I mean, is it like, time is a flat circle? Like, is this just continuing, or like, like the world serpent eating its tail, kind of just repeating over and over?
So now maybe it makes me think that it's more of a linear path,
As far as like getting out of this place, or like stuck in here forever?
The story, not like it's happening over and over and over. I still think there's nothing new under the sun, but I think I think it's just all one big story,
Yeah, man. it's I don't know.
Yeah. What would they call it in the racing world? A sprint race. Where it just has a beginning and an end, and you just get there as one time. There's no laps.
I believe so. We got drag races too.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I guess with this, you would have to say sprint still, because
you're
turns and twists and.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not just a straight path.
I do got some of the questions from YouTube, or at least comments and questions from YouTube. I missed Nikki's from a couple of days ago, so or a couple shows ago. So
Okay.
I kind of owe her. She let me have it. Um, she wants to know. She has a couple. She wants to know what's the panel's take on John 17, the entire chapter, and is it Barabbas or Christ? That's the first of four questions. So
Oh,
I'm going
John
to John.
17.
Yeah, John 17.
Okay. These are the words Jesus spoke. And he lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, Father, the hour is come, glorify thy Son, and thy Son also may glorify thee, as thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life to as many as thou hast given him. And this is eternal life, that they may know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent. Okay, that verse is contested in some of the comments on certain Bibles as to whether that was accurate or not. In 17:3, in verse 4 goes, And I have glorified thee on earth, and I have finished the work that thou hast gave me. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. Now, to me, that's strange, because that comment right there, it's like, Yahweh said he doesn't share his glory with anybody in the Old Testament. And he said, I have manifested thy name unto men, which thou gavest me out of the world, and thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Okay. Now, they have known that all things whatsoever thou hast given me are of thee. For I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from thee, and they have believed that thou didst send me. And I would say that sounds more like Barabbas, you know.
So far, the whole thing sounds like Barabbas to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Because verse 3 is contested. I pray for them, I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. Okay, and that's an unusual comment. He doesn't pray for the world, but he said he's not from this world. And all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. And still, I would say that's Barabbas, because Yahweh's not going to share his glory with anybody. And now I am no more in the world, but these that are in the world, and I have come to thee. Holy Father, keep them in thine own name, those whom thou hast given me, and that they may be one as we are. Okay? And I'd have to analyze that one, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Alright? While I was with them in the world, I kept them in my name, in thy name, who thou hast given me, and I have kept them, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. Now that's getting into JC territory to me when you start talking about fulfilling the scripture. I'd have to look at that verse. And now I come to thee, with these things I speak in the world, that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. Let's see. Let me roll this up some.
About that last verse, artist, 12, when you said that's starting to sound like
Uh-huh.
JC, when it
Mm-hmm.
says, and I watch over them, and not one of them perished except the son of destruction, that the scripture might be
Yeah.
fulfilled. I don't think it necessarily is him saying, that the scripture being fulfilled of the Father's will, but saying like because others want to fulfill the scriptures. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be. That the Greek would be real telling on that one too. I
Yeah.
pray that thou shouldest not take them out of the world, but that thou should keep them from the evil. And see, that sounds like Barabbas to me too. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. That's definitely him. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth, and thou hast sent me into the world, even as I have sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, and they also might be sanctified through the truth. Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word. Okay, that they may be one. And I know this verse is wrong, and I would have to pull it up. That they may be one as thou, Father, in me, and I in them may be one with us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, and they may be one, even as we are one. I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved me, and thou hast loved me. Father, I will that they also whom thou hast given me be with me where I am, and that they may behold my glory which thou hast given me, for thou lovest me before the foundation of the world. That has to be Barabbas. O righteous Father, I lost my place. Uh-oh.
Want me to finish it?
Yeah, you can finish it. I don't
Oh,
know how I
righteous
lost my
Father,
place.
indeed the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. And I have made your name known to them, and shall make it known, so that the love with which you love me might be in them, and I in them. And that's all of it.
All right, Scott, that's Barabbas. To me, that is.
Definitely Barabbas.
Because 18's Barabbas. I mean, that's 1836 is when he. I don't know. I mean, that whole thing seems like him. And then same with the next chapter.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like there's both of them in the same chapter sometimes.
You think
But
it goes back and forth sometimes?
I mean, well, it just sometimes it seems like it, but
Yeah.
it
Oh,
could be
yeah. I mean,
mistranslation and it could be misunderstanding.
yeah. No, absolutely.
But yeah, my take on that chapter is definitely that it's Barabbas. Um, and artist said that she has that she's gonna analyze those verses that of interest. I don't know if she's already on it, but she does have. Let me see, three more questions. She's talk like she wants to know about the verse. Nothing is impossible without Father. She wants to know what our thoughts on that verse, and is it Barabbas or JC?
Okay,
I really want to go
say
there.
that one more time.
The verse, nothing is impossible without Father. She didn't like put the actual like what the verse was on that one, so we have to find it real quick. I don't know it by heart, but I feel like I know what she's talking about.
Yeah, I looked this up too on the 17:3, John 17:3. The NABRE version has this note on it. It says the verse was clearly added in the editing of the gospel as a reflection on the preceding verse. Jesus nowhere else refers to himself as Jesus Christ. They felt like it was added because he never refers to himself as Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. To say, yeah, that's weird. No, I'm reading it again.
I knew I had found a note on that one.
Was there another part you had a note on too, right?
No, I think that's the only one I had on that chapter. But I just wanted to bring that up since I pulled it up.
The I and you and the to be that we might be one. I think a lot of people misinterpret that. You know, and I think that you can be one, like just like the in Revelations how the world was one, and they declared themselves one. I
Yeah,
think
what I
that
got
goes
on that
back and
verse
forth.
when I analyzed it was all things in you exist, just as the Father in me and I in you. Also, they that are with or among me in the world should believe that you sent me. See, so they use the word with me or among me. So that was a little bit deceptive the way they translated that one too.
So this verse, nothing is impossible without the Father. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
I can't remember what verse that is.
Usually Tracy's like super fast in the comments, just like, oh, it's this one. Bam.
Where's it at, Tracy? We'll get you to get it.
I think it says with God. Nah. Oh yeah. See, Tracy just said. Because I was gonna say I don't remember anyone saying without Father. Because I think Jesus was like the only one that used the word Father. Luke. I want to say Luke 1:37. Oh, Matt. What he said, Matthew 19:26.
Oh yeah, that's like where the disciples are saying, um, "We're exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved?" And Jesus beheld and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. And that was talking about the rich man. And it said, oh, I do have something on that too. Talking about the camel, it's harder for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than for the rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Gamaliel is known as the camel in first century. The teacher that was Paul's teacher. Let's see. It's talking about that guy right there. Paul's teacher, Gamaliel. Gamal meant the camel. And his child was Simon ben Gamal. Gamaliel was the elder of the Rabbin. Gamaliel was the leading authority in the Sanhedrin in the early first century, and his son was son of Simon ben Hillel, the grandson of the great Jewish teacher Hillel the elder. But that name literally means the camel, because Jesus said that it was, you know, again I say to you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for the rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven, or kingdom of God.
Well, who do you think this is in Matthew 19:26? He says, and Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you, when the Son of Adam or when the Son of Man sits on it." So is this Barabbas? Because he wouldn't be speaking in third person. When we look at the rest of 19, though, let me see some of his quotes, the Old Testament. Oh, okay, never mind. That's the commandments. And he didn't bring up the first three, so that makes me think this is Barabbas as well.
Yeah, and he's talking about the kingdom of heaven, not the kingdom of God. So I think, yeah, that's probably Barabbas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's two down, two to go. Unless anyone else got anything they want to add. The other verse is asking we shall receive. She wants us to analyze if it's Barabbas or JC?
Mm. I think
Tracy?
that's.
Dorothy? Don't let me beat you.
I'm sorry.
I'm
Oh, I
looking it
just
up.
Oh,
yeah. Is it Matthew 7:7 or Luke 11:9? Does any we got to see if it's a JC or a JB for both of them? Let me see. JC 7. Okay, 7
That may
7.
be earthly. I'm not sure.
Asking it shall be given to you, seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it shall be opened.
That's Barabbas, because the next verse is, if a son shall ask for bread, and will he give him a stone, or if he asks for a fish, would he give him a serpent?
Mm-hmm.
That's Barabbas.
Let's try the Luke one. Luke 11.
Oh, that's Luke I was reading. I'm sorry. That was just the first one I came
Oh,
to.
really? I was reading Matthew 7, and it was like saying the same exact thing.
Yeah, it's pretty close, I
Okay.
think, on that one.
Well, cool then. So I
Yeah.
guess we answered that then.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Feel like Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker in Rush Hour right there. You
I'm
go
telling
this
you.
way, I go that way. I'm just kidding. All right. And then she said, "Do we ask in Barabbas' name, as written in the Lord's Prayer? And is that prayer JB or JC?" I think it's recorded in two different spots, right? The Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, and the second one in Luke says that was the prayer that John taught. So that would not be Barabbas' prayer.
yeah, I'm pretty certain that's Jesus Christ's prayer because it's
Yeah, I do too.
more Saturn stuff too.
It
Like
said Lord, right? The Lord's Prayer.
the Lord's prayer, yeah, and then
Let's
yeah.
let's
Plus
find it real quick for people that don't that haven't read it,
Yeah,
or
it's in Luke where he said that teach us to pray as John was teaching his disciples.
Matthew 6:9-13 and Luke 11. You go this way, I go that way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm already at Luke, by the way.
Yeah, Luke is the one that has that it references to John.
The fact that it says on earth as it is in heaven, it's like we know that Father's kingdom is not on earth. So it's
Right.
it's also
Yes.
referencing an earthly thing. So we know that that's Yahweh.
May I interject for a second? Hi, you guys. Good evening. This is Boston Cat.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Hey, everything is great. Awesome. I'm just, listening here, doing my thing. But I have to say something. So about the Lord's Prayer, I heard that somebody said that before Jesus went to the cross, he had to be the perfect sacrifice. So he had to adhere to the laws of the Jewish or the Hebrew people, the 10 Commandments, the 50 minor commandments. But they said that when they asked Jesus to pray, and he taught them, "Thou Father, thou art in heaven," whatever, they said that the reason why he said it was because before he went to the cross, that was appropriate because he was still under the law. But it wasn't until he became the sacrifice that prayer no longer is null and void, it no longer counts no more because of what Jesus did. But I know you guys are trying to find that thing with Luke. Lately, I've been studying NDE experiences. I don't know why, but it seems a little synchronistic because earlier you guys were talking about Jesus and him saying now people belong to him. And I was getting into this NDE thing where people were saying that when they were in the other place, the other side, that they had an image of their pre-birth. So some of these people saw themselves in rooms with other souls. And so I'm assuming, right, this is what That whole entire phrase is that I've always known you. You know, if you're under my protection, I'll never let you go. That whole thing with the Father being personal with each individual soul, you know, because He is the Father, you know. But Tim, I was talking to you about free will last time I called in, and I have to bring something up with you. I notice in almost 90% of these NDE cases, people always ask to stay. And 100% of the time they say no, you have to go back. Are you sure you want to stay? And even when they say that they do want to stay, they tell them, no, I'm sorry, you can't stay, you got to go back. So today I was listening to this one lady. She said that when she was younger, she was told that she was going to be a teacher. And so this is her purpose that she believes, right? So when she had went to the afterlife, she went through her NDE experience. You know, she was told that she has to go back because she's a teacher. And I was like, wait a minute. Because I noticed in all these NDE experiences, they have some type of excuse to tell you that you need to go back. Your work is unfinished. You got children. And then I think about with, you know, in the New Testament where it says that it'd be easier for a person, you know, I know it was Paul that said this, but he had a point. He said it would be easier for a person to be single and celibate than to have children and a family. But if you look at that in a long grasping view of what he meant, you know, you can see why he said that. But then I think, okay, what if this whole experience with this NDE thing and attaching us to the material plane has to do with these attachments? Not that I want to get into Buddha or anything, but there's this whole thing about, how you say it, to not allow anything to affect you, regardless if it's negative or positive. And I was like, oh, so if I die, right? Oh, excuse me, if I go into the afterlife, so what are they going to say to me? Because I don't have no kids. I'm not in these positions where people are going to be like, oh, you got to go back. I'm going to be like, no, listen, you need to, I want to go talk to the Father. Like, that's literally what I'm going to say if I get to that point or when I do get to that point. But if Yahweh, right, if he is in control and there's some type of soul trap situation going on, and then there's this whole discussion of reincarnation, but then I get into that whole free will thing because these people are not allowed to stay. They have to come back. And then you get...
Is that because they didn't know the true Father's character? They didn't choose Jesus Barabbas?
Well,
and
from
they
their...
actually were praying and thinking of Jesus Christ, and then Yahweh sends them back?
See, madam, the thing with a lot of these experiences, they have nothing to do with Jesus. They go to these places and they say they feel like 100% love and light, and that they're giving these options and they're sovereign to choose their will, but they never get to choose their will. And I'm 100% for Jesus, so if I'm going to cross over, and this is another thing, I know I'm all over the map, but you know how Jesus says that I am the way and the light or whatever? It's like a tunnel. I think that when you cross over into the spiritual world, there are a lot of obstructions, you know, and in order to get a direct path to the Father, you need Jesus.
I think if you cross over and you go and you die,
Yes.
and you know the Father, he opens, he it's like Golanov says, artist says, is you go right straight to Jesus. But if you don't know him, the door's not open.
And I agree 100%. I think that I'm going to just say it. Almost 99% of these NDE experiences are some type of deception or illusion. And these people, most of them are not saved by Jesus. And if they did start out with Jesus, at the end of their transformation, you know, they went into mediumship, writing books, etc., etc. You know, Jesus is long gone by this point. So, yeah, I think you're right. And it's all about staying aligned with him. Not saying that you have to follow a certain strict 10 commandment guide code rule book, but you have to say, you know, Jesus is my God or Father or however.
I think if you don't know the character and you are not aligning what his character is, and you believe some of the stuff in the Old Testament or whatever, saying that it's him and it's out of character for who he is, then I'd say that the door's not open. The door will open when you know him. This is why we are told to share this as far and wide as we can, because not many people will see it. I believe it goes right back to the character.
I got a question for everybody here. So from this point, seeing as we're discovering this new information, I don't think it's been revealed until just now. My question is, prior to this point, everybody who passed away under the guise of the information of the church, what do you think happened to their souls?
I mean, it depends.
Well, if they
Yeah, only
went
Father
under,
would know that, really.
but if they were under the fake Jesus, if they were under the Yahweh, if they were under the church, like, do you think they still got
I
in?
think he knows their heart. He knows their heart, and if your heart is aligned with knowing that he's good, and what he is and isn't, then I think he just accepts you in. I think because there's a lot of people that don't even go to church and don't even know any of this stuff, but he knows their hearts. I think you have to have the right spirit. You have to have the right understanding of who he is, as far as good and bad, or good and evil. And again, like Delano just said, we won't know that. We
Yeah,
can't know
but
that.
what's the purpose of the deception if there's no purpose for it? This is what I'm saying. Like, I'd love to be positive, and this is why I think reincarnation might actually be real. Because if you don't get it right, what's going to happen? There are people all around the world that don't follow Christ at all, or Jesus at all. So what's going to happen to them? And the people that do follow Jesus, are they following the right one? See, so there's no point for not having deception. There's a reason for it. And I think it says that he walks around like a lion, roaring, seeing whom he can devour, right?
Right, because the ones that don't, the ones that can't, like it is a possibility that there is reincarnation, that you keep coming back into this realm until you get it. And I mean, that might be why we have different reset. Like, I mean, I'm not really sure, but I think that once you, the reason why I think that there's the push and why there is a deception is because in the end, which we are at, I believe, the end, there's going to come a time when there's no more of the Father just saying he knows the heart and all this other stuff. Some of the people will be just, and I don't think there's like a burning fire like of hell or whatever for just the random person that doesn't get it. But I do think that if they don't choose, I think you get a choice. You're going to choose. I think even towards the end here, I think there might be something that happens that we see more people come to him because they've seen something, or that Father does something or whatever, because it doesn't tell you everything in the Bible. It tells you in Satan's little season, that he's going to be put into the lake of fire, but it doesn't really go into details about what happens after all this stuff. We'll see if there's something that pops up that people choose him.
But
You know,
on that note, because of this free will discussion, I think you're right. I think if you are aligned with the Father, you do have a form of free will, and you can choose regardless of whatever the situation. But Tim, I think, right, when it comes to certain things like Judas, for example, remember Satan went in him, and then you remember the Pharaoh. He said that Satan also went in him. So I'm like, okay, so if these people, right, do not belong to Jesus, because they clearly didn't, they must belong to Yahweh or to the evil one, right? So here goes that matrix principle, with Morpheus and Neo and all them. That if you belong to the matrix, you can be controlled by the matrix. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's like 50-50 with this free will thing so far from what I'm gathering. I'm starting to also believe in predestiny too as well. But yeah, I'm sorry I took up so much. I know you guys were looking up Luke, and I think it's amazing. Again where we are in time. And yes, I agree. I think also we are at the end, and I think this is why everything is being released. Who knows? But I don't think it's that much longer till whatever the next phase of humanity is.
Yeah, me either. I did want to make a comment on some of the things that you and Ellen were talking about.
Yes.
Ellen, you were saying how you do think that there's going to be some final moment, you know, like to
I
decide.
don't know for sure. I don't know for sure because it's not really written what actually
Yeah.
happens with these people. But I just know the Father's character, and I know that he doesn't want to unalive anyone. So I think maybe Tracy said something in the comments that at the moment of death, like Tracy just said, that he actually says something to us. I believe the Father says something to us, and you choose. And he says, "My people know my voice," or like we know who he is. We know. So I think when people hear him, I think will choose him. And I think the ones that didn't really know him but have lived in this world and can see, all the stuff that's happened, maybe they'll choose him as well. I don't know.
Well, I was just saying because I thought you were meaning like at some point instead of recycling us, at some point there's an end, and when that end do come, there's no way that because there's going to be still people that haven't decided or haven't fully, you know what I'm saying? And I thought you were saying like, or I thought the topic was what's going to happen to them, you know?
Yeah, I think
And
it was the topic. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that you brought up like some kind of final choosing moment. I was just gonna mention that I think possibly that could be what the mark of the beast is all about. Like, hey,
Maybe, right?
they know what time we're in, and it's time to choose, so we can enjoy our last moments before before whatever happens.
Yeah, maybe.
But also, Boston Cat, you brought up something earlier, and I'm gonna remember by my question. But I said, I think when we unalive, our spirit is revealed, and then we get to see how we actually look. We get to see how dirty we are, if we how clean or unclean our spirit is, and I think maybe it'd be visible where we go. I think it'd be evident, possibly. And I do think that Jesus will come. He said he'll receive us, so maybe he knows. You remember the other show when I was saying that when we live above the firmament, you're
Yeah.
above you're above time. You're outside of time, space, and matter. Because space, they call space the firmament, right? You go above it, you're outside of space. It's a clock. The sun, moon, and the stars is here. In the firmament, you go outside of the firmament, and now you're outside of time. So that's why they call it God's timing, right? So I think when you're unalive, he already knows. It's like slow motion for him, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, Tim's about to unalive. Let me go down there and greet Tim. I'm about to bring him home. Hopefully, that's how it goes."
Yeah, that would be awesome. But, very rarely do any of these NDEs actually talk about Jesus. And that's the most alarming part that I find, because as this deception grows more and more, everybody wants to call everything New Age, but it's actually really old. So those two words don't even go together, right? But it's like some of these practices are not inherently evil. It's just that the church or some form of, some strict guideline coded that don't allow nobody to do anything, and they're like, oh, the stars are evil, don't look at them, and we're like, they're in the sky. Yeah, they're evil. Why did God put them there? You see, it's so logical and easy, even a child would laugh at that. But as an adult with our rigorous coding and stuff, we're like, oh, you can't even do this, you can't experience life until you're at this point, and you're like, who made you God? But as far as that process, from what I'm gathering, anybody who goes, they don't come back. And wherever they go, whether it's downstairs or upstairs. But so those people that claim to have these experiences, they always come back. And I honestly don't think they went. But yeah, Tim, if I find anything else out more, I'm gonna come back because I want to.
I'm gonna be right here with boxing gloves on, brother.
Okay, thanks, Boston.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. I'll stay on the line and listen, though. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Boston Cat always bring plenty to the conversation. I'll tell you that much, right?
Yeah, he does.
He does.
So I was looking at Nikki's final question and about the Lord's Prayer, and I did notice some differences in the Luke one. He goes on, like what he's talking about afterwards is different from the Matthew 6 one. No. So I was gonna ask, do you think they're both JC, or do you think one is JC and one is Barabbas?
I think they're both JC.
You think they're both JC?
Yeah.
All right, Nikki, there's your answer. But yeah, I just found it interesting. And yes, thanks, Boston Cat.
Also, I can tell Nikki too that the Tic Talk, the guy that calls himself Rabbi Skobach, he mentioned the Lord's Prayer when he was reviewing the New Testament, you know, and he said that it was an old Jewish prayer that had been taught way before Jesus ever came on the scene. Yeah.
Come up, Tracy. I just stopped in the middle of commenting. I want to hear your take on it, Tracy. I want to hear your thoughts. Because I'm not sure if they're JC or JB yet. I really want to take some time and look at it and read the whole chapter for both of them. I know. But you know, in this truth game, she said they're basically the same for the people on YouTube. In this truth game, it's all it takes is a small difference, and it flip everything on its head. I'm still on YouTube. Hold on, I already had the YouTube comments booted up. My computer went to sleep though.
Artists, I had a question as far as the resources you use when you're like, are all this you said it's translated from modern Greek?
I use several different things. I Google the etymology and for the old stuff, and then I use like about 6 different translators to see what all they pull up for the new, you know, in modern Greek.
And in one of your videos, you were talking about was it the Codex Vaticanus, or
The Greek one is the Sinaiticus. Mm-hmm.
Sinaiticus? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, I just wanted to bookmark that.
Welcome in, JP. I can start reading off some of these comments. I don't know what Yana Sharma. This comment you have up here, there's question marks everywhere, but none of it sounds like questions. It says, I'm the same when praying. That was with a question mark. Calling names of gods throw habit and ignorance of doctrine. But I truly believe Abba loves us and you, all for revealing his truth and has shown us truths to rebuke. And that's with a question mark. Very strange. Instead of binding, loosen with a question mark. I've called on Jesus and his mighty grace and love follows. I'm guessing you meant through here. Follows through and gives me direction. As Jesus said, if we have faith as a mustard seed with a question mark, we can do all things. Thank you, Yana. I just kind of didn't. Are you from? She might be from a different place, and or you just got a question mark set as your main thing. When you end your sentences. Let's see. Esperanza Marie wants to be invited on to the Tic Talk next time we go live, she says. I don't know if she's already your friend. She's speaking directly to you, artist.
To see who that is.
Usually comments on every YouTube, every show.
Yeah, she
Our
sure
car,
does.
our car 9115. I wonder if Alpha and Omega is connected to the binary code of ones and zeros in computer language. Like 1 plus 0 could also be um Iova or Yo or I think okay. IOYO or Ya. Also A is one and zero is without beginning or end. So this could also sound like Ayo when put together. Io, aka Yao, is
I
said
saw
to
that.
be
That's interesting.
yeah. Say it could be an archon that is connected to Jupiter, which that I mean that will match your whole theory completely.
Yeah.
Also, Arcar said that Pantocrator, I hope I'm saying that right. Pantocrator is in the Bible. See Strong's 3841 in the Greek. Abirim online has interesting tidbits to add to it as well.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Arcar. Oh, oh no, I can't like him or it's gonna take me off the page. All right. Life choices just said that they really appreciate the way we treat new people who add to the conversation, and they just said thank you.
Oh, that's nice.
Let's see. CM said they think we'll get a lot of views in this study. He might suggest for the next study that to share what the Son of God taught us about the times of trouble and how to be mentally and spiritually prepared. Many arming themselves, ready to fight and unalive, but that isn't from the Son of God. The time may be nearing, and you have a good platform to show people the depth of instruction we have been given. Oh man, there's more. I didn't know that. Oh,
That's a good thought. Really good.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. You got a whole paragraph, but we got it though because I see that these are all just examples she got or he got. But I always pause when I come across that word "guy." I'm so trained to not say it that way. It's weird. Let me see if I can find someone else. Oh, that's Ilana. She's in the group now. Let's see.
Yeah, there's a bunch of messages just came through today I haven't had time to look at yet.
Yeah, what the Franson says, close the portal when you pray. That would definitely mean turn your internet devices off in today's world. Or maybe anything with a display screen. Yes, I will turn it off. It makes sense a whole lot more than just closing the window. Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
interested
me too.
in He said, I'm interested in any of what Jesus said about our abilities, like the moving a mountain thing. And what was exactly wrong with the fig tree? Um, he said, is that a translation? Is that translation truthful? Um, he has more, but I guess I'm gonna stop right there just to ask, do you think that translation was right so far?
I think it is. I think it was JC that did that. And actually, there was a fig tree in Rome in first century that withered up and died. That was um, considered sacred to the Romans.
I was gonna say I thought it was JC too because JB doesn't curse and anything he touched actually gained life instead of going the opposite way. Lynn, did you want to say something? I thought someone had unmuted to say something. I wasn't looking at the phone.
Wasn't me.
Okay, cool. So you said I think we might just have these abilities such as healing or clearing our surroundings and bodies of the weirdness going around. I'm not talking about some ritual techniques or dealing with entities or symbols, simply things we can learn to do without any other help except that of the Father. Maybe much of this world and our existence is designed to specifically suppress these abilities. That might explain why, or that might explain many why are they doing that questions. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I do think that we all got special abilities. Um, and when I say abilities, I don't mean like superpowers, obviously, but almost like how someone just for some reason always got that touch on cooking, kind of like that. But we got those kind of abilities, and I do think they suppress us. I think that's the reason why he sent the helper, though. What
I
do you
think
guys
so
think?
too.
Yeah, they definitely suppress. I mean, with the food and all that stuff, and all the new diseases that keep coming out. Oh yeah,
Everything's
hell,
designed to make us deteriorate.
yeah, make you work all day. You feel like you're never tired. You like, I mean, not never tired. You feel like you're never
Always.
getting a
Yeah.
break. Yeah, you just always going, and you never
Yeah.
really
This
got
whole
time to be
place.
creative.
Yeah. This whole place is a sacrifice system. It's all, based on getting whatever they can out of us, blood, energy, however you want to look at it. It's basically what this whole place is.
Yep, they want you either busy or entertained.
Yeah. Yeah, or just entertained.
Hi, Lee. I am glad you were able to come in tonight. I know it's the middle of your night.
I can't even see the chat anymore. What? What happened? Okay, I can't see the chat anymore, so
Uh
I'm
oh.
just gonna yeah, I'm just gonna finish reading the questions though at
That
least.
happened to me the other night, and I had to exit and come back in because all of a sudden the chat went away. It was really weird. You might have to exit and come back.
Okay.
But you can finish reading the question first if you want.
Uh, I'm still scanning for a question. Most of them are comments. Okay. Denise. Let me see. Denise Pros 9534. Hopefully I said that right. John 10:7-10. Jesus says, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved." Oh, I'm over here thinking she had a question. That was it.
Yeah, that's definitely Barabbas.
Oh well, yeah. I guess if that's her question, that's definitely Barabbas. Yeah.
Yep.
Let me see. Elizabeth commented talking about her 4G, but you could tell her 4G was so bad because the comment popped up 4 times. Let me see. That was going. That's nothing. Almost there, guys. This is Nikki telling me I ain't read her comments. All right, can't say nothing now, Nikki. And yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Now about this freaking comment situation. Let me see. I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Okay. Does anybody else want to come up and have any questions or comments or anything?
Artist, I know it's kind of off subject, but I was wondering when you go through Genesis, does it ever allude to Adam and Eve being children when all that takes place, or are they? Uh, does it ever say anything in regards to that?
Not that I've seen. Uh-uh.
I was just curious. Like, I don't know. I just wonder if like they're just created adults. You know what I mean? And like if they were children and Yahweh was just yeah, I don't know. It just kind of makes it different if he's like screaming at a kid, almost. I mean, either way, it's yeah, I don't know. I was just
In
curious.
modern Hebrew, Adam is a computer.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And so wait, like it says like he's like a like in the cloud type stuff, or is it like a like
He has an aperture and tubers, and he also has an ATM in modern. Yeah, it's like I'm going, wow.
that's crazy.
And the first computer was named Adam, and it sold for $666.
Yeah, the Apple II or whatever it was.
And it's funny because they put the apple on the front with the bit out place.
Yeah, the bite out of it. Yeah,
Yeah. How did society just accept this? Like, so really, y'all, you named it Adam. It's $666. No one
Yeah.
questioned these guys. The Bible was surely around, you know.
Honestly, for the longest time, I just thought it was jokes. You know what I mean? Like, and I mean, it is in a way, but it's like sick jokes, but it's jokes to
They,
them.
they always make us sound crazy, you know.
Oh
No, it's
yeah.
just come on, guys. It's just the optimum price to put it at, in order for us to make the
Yeah.
money that we need to make. You know?
Yeah. Or
All right,
Elon doesn't
suit.
really worship the devil. He just likes, wearing satanic suits of armor that he pays a lot of money for, and he's really on our side. Or yeah.
Lee, you're not gonna come up, brother?
He's in TikTok prison.
Oh, that's it. He did say that.
Again, the poor guy.
Lee, you gotta stop being a repeat offender out here, bro. What?
Yeah, really. He's hitting the bullseye a little too often.
You remind me of Malvo from Everybody Hates Chris, man. You just just keep on getting into trouble. Anybody else in the chat want to come up? Got any questions? Tracy said we are computers. Lee got my joke about Everybody Hates Chris. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I think if nobody else has any questions, I'm going to call it there for tonight. Because I know we've all put in a long day, and Sally's got a long night ahead of her. And
I'm working. I'm sorry I wasn't as engaged. I was
oh, I
listening.
understand. I understand. You're on a deadline.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
But I thought that we'd call it tonight, and then we'll pick back up. Let's see. Today's Friday, so we'll be back, Sunday?
Yeah.
I'm good with Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. I love
Okay,
everybody,
everybody have a
and
good
it
night.
was a great night
Love you
tonight.
too.
Thank you
Have a
for
good
all the
night.
comments and the
Well,
guests. I really enjoyed it.
thanks
Nice
a
to
lot.
meet you,
It's been
Trevor.
helpful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Said nice to meet you, brother.
It was nice to meet you all. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Nice to
Oh,
meet you,
thanks for
Trevor.
coming up, Trevor, and
Nice to
Boston,
meet you all
everybody
too.
that came up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for
Night,
being
guys.
helpful.
Night, guys.
Of course, of
Good night,
course.
guys.
All right.
Good night.
Have a good one. Thank you.